South Africa is in a state of shock tonight after a dramatic and unheard-of order from the High Court in South Africa which threatened President Cyril Ramaphosa with imprisonment if he did not step down willingly. The news, which broke towards the end of Friday evening, sent shockwaves across the nation and left the African National Congress in a state of chaos, with members allegedly bursting into tears over what could be the end of an era. As per sources, the warning against President Cyril Ramaphosa emerged after months of probing over alleged violations of the country's laws related to misuse of state resources, among other issues. No individual, whatever their role in society, can claim to be before the law, read a statement from the office of President Ramaphosa. The office of the president is not protected from prosecution. Failure by Mr. Ramaphosa to step down in accordance with the stipulations set by this court shall invite consequences, including but not limited to incarceration, stated a release from an order by the South African High Court. The news shook the very fabric of the African National Congress, which allegedly went into shock when a dramatic parliament sitting spilled deep into Friday night. Source information shows Sam May compiled a series of allegations against Ramaphosa over alleged violations of constitutional laws, among other crimes. "We have worked very hard to establish this nation since 1994. Alleged Sam Ramaphosa took over with a promise to reform this failing state. Now he is the very definition of our decay. A state founded on freedom, justice, equality, and democracy is being destroyed by politicized police forces, officialized gangs, and actors of state capture in all our institutions. His fate will not be a death knell because he will leave with our very dignity intact if he steps down willingly," says May, in an apparent bid to soften the impact of an otherwise disastrous judgment for President Cyril Ramaphosa. Reactions from Parliament were dramatic, with many South African legislators allegedly visibly shaken by a parliament sitting deep into Friday night. As soon as the court judgment was rendered, opposition parties erupted in applause, but ANC members were in complete shock. Julius Malema, the EFF leader, took full advantage of this moment and stood up to address Parliament, stating, "This is exactly what we have all along been saying. The president is not above the law. Justice has finally caught up with him. Let him face the consequences just like any other citizen." On the other hand, DA leader John Steenhuisen called for immediate resignation by President Ramaphosa, declaring this a victory for democracy and the law. "If a President Ramaphosa believes in a constitution which they claim to represent, they must step down immediately," Steenhuisen proclaimed during an impromptu press conference. Legal luminaries and constitutional law specialists have pointed to this court judgment as a turning point in South African democracy. Legal practitioner Dion Kosi explained that this is the first time in our country's democratic history where a sitting head of state is threatened with imprisonment for disobeying a court order, and this judgment will have far-reaching effects on governance in this country. Back in Toria, emotions ran hot as massive numbers of people congregated outside union buildings with placards such as "No one is above the law" and "Step down." But judging from the news trending on social media, this is but a small outbreak in cities such as Cape Town, Johannesburg and Durban, as citizens make their discontentfulness observed through placards such as "Ramaphosa, Step Down" or "Jail", #NCI Crisis, among many others. Citizens in this nation are divided over this call for resignation. Thinking in these circumstances an unstable economy may become even more unstable with a resignation of this magnitude. "We were with you on your Dawn initiative, President Ramaphosa," one citizen stated excitedly. "Now it feels like nighttime in our country. No more leaders playing with our future." Reliable sources have indicated this president now has less than 7 working days to heed the parliament directive. Failure to do so would invite charges of criminal contempt of court, which may force either the police or the National Prosecuting Authority (NPA) to take action against a sitting head of state, which is a first for South Africa. Behind the presidency, according to sources, aides are working on an emergency basis to come up with a press statement. Some sources suggest that Ramaphosa feels betrayed and boxed in, but others suggest he remains adamant and will not hesitate to challenge this order in constitutional court. As South Africa hurtles headlong into a constitutional crisis, Talk is that deep divisions within the ranks of the ANC are on the verge of developing into outright rebellion. Young Turks among them are demanding a new dawn in terms of accountability. But full government support in this case remains unconditional, with supporters of Ramaphosa who claim this judicial order is part of a calculated attempt by political enemies to erode support for President Ramaphosa's leadership. In any case, one thing is evident. South Africa's governing party is staring into the abyss, with a possible implosion lurking in the future. As dawn breaks in this troubled nation, it finds itself in a brand new reality where never before has the presidency faced a direct challenge from the judiciary. Nor has such hopelessness in this case manifested in an already grave crisis in the ranks of ANC. Will President Ramaphosa honorably step down to salvage his reputation and avoid a jail term? Will the ANC come to his support in this crisis to support a man they claim will never succumb to these judicial intimidations? Or will this prove a moment when a new South Africa can be forged?